Okay, so this is a short video about modding this Chapman ML-1, and what you've got is what they call a Guitar DAW pickup in here. There's two previous videos, links up here to those, made for Chapman guitars. Now I really like this pickup, but I think to me it really reminds me of Seymour Duncan Custom. So I thought, well, how close is it actually to one of these Seymour Duncans, and would it improve the sound? So I now have a shiny Seymour Duncan Custom, which in this video I'm going to fit in this guitar. If you know nothing about wiring, you're probably not going to learn a lot from me, because I just tend to get on with things, but I will AB the exact same sounds that you hear with the stock pickup and a Seymour Duncan Custom. Okay, so if we're going to do these pickups, the first thing we need to do is remove the back plate necessary. So this is the part of the guitar where all the components are. Now these screws, put them somewhere safe. If you've got some sort of this, I mean this is a lens cap I'm just going to use to show, but don't leave them lying and rolling round, and put them somewhere safe. So we're going to pop this off. Now, because these pickups are mounted to the body and the strings are there, therefore above them, you will have to take your strings off, or I wouldn't recommend just slacking them off and trying to get it in. And it's definitely not the way to do it. Right, I'm going to put these somewhere. Okay, so in here I happen to know that this is the wire from the humbucker, and you can see here there's a what you call a hot wire. Now these colours can all be completely different depending on which pickup manufacturer you've got. If you Google you know, DiMarzio wiring, Seymour Duncan wiring images, you will see what the colours are. Now on a Guitar DAW they're wired thusly. So you've got start, and the black and ground are finish, and link is green and white, which is connected to this part of the switch here. Now on a Seymour Duncan they're wired differently. Now I've pre-done this. When you buy it, you've just got 4 wires coming out. Now on a Seymour Duncan, black is start, or black is the hot if you like. Green and the ground wire are finish or earth, and the link is the white and red, and those are the differences. So when this goes in, it's going to be wired, so hot's over here, link goes to the switch, and ground comes back to an earth point inside the cavity. There's bags of wire left on this for it to go in, as you can see there. So I'm going to skip through the part where I take the strings off, get the pickup out, etc. Now, the Seymour Duncan, what I will tell you is when you buy it, it comes with machined threads in this part of the pickup, and those are there simply to screw in, as you would normally say in a Les Paul. There's like a bolt coming down into here that lifts and lowers it against a pair of springs. When it's body mounted, generally it's a wood type screw, because that's what they're made of, that actually passes completely through the hole, and then some sort of backing underneath lifts the pickup. So you will probably have to widen these slightly. If you have a decent drill, or you're experienced at that, you could do it that way, or you can use a screwdriver and whittle away at it, or a very small needle file, just to make it big enough. What I don't recommend is trying to force the screw through, because what can happen is you can actually split this leg here, and then you're in a world of trouble if you can't micro weld or solder to refix it. So do be careful on that phase. Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so I was going to skip this section, but it occurred to me I really should mention a couple of things. Right, if you've never soldered, stop, go watch a dozen or so videos on soldering on Google or whatever. Then when you do have a soldering iron, don't start on the guitar you want to work on. Work on bits of wire that are similar sizes, loose components or whatever. Practice doing your soldering on something that you can completely bugger up and it won't be any kind of harm. Okay? Second thing to mention, the end of this thing is extremely hot. This is way hotter than boiling, a cigarette end, anything like that. This is way hotter. Yeah? Now this will take your skin clean off. So if you're a guitar player, you get this anywhere near here, you're out of action till you heal, if you heal properly. I'm serious now. If it drops, back away from it, let it land on wherever it's going to land on. Never ever try and grab it, because you will seriously hurt yourself. Put it this way, if you ever grab one, you will never ever ever do it again. Right then, I'm not going to go on and on about soldering technique, because mine's probably not correct to textbook and what have you, but you see, I learned to solder in the 80s, in fact, at a TV repair shop. And all I'm doing just here, if you can see me in shot, is I'm just tinning the end of the iron so it has flux, because without flux solder doesn't flow. And because I've got the experience, I know I can get away with doing this job without a solder mop or a solder vacuum pump, or solder sucker sometimes called. And you should never be on any amount of solder or join for longer than I was just then. And the reason is, you will send the heat up the cable and melt all the rubberized PVC or whatever it is coating on it. And quite often on things like volume pots and tone pots, you'll bugger them up. You'll burn the track underneath, because there really is a lot of heat. You are welding, remember that. Okay, so this one is on that center pin there, and that's it. It's electronically removed. So the next stage would be take the strings off. This is a good opportunity to put nice fresh strings on your guitar. Think of it that way. So if you're setting up to do this job and you practice, you're confident with the iron. Oh, and if you do get one, get a stand. Safest place for it. You'll be aware of the heat but not hurt yourself. I did that without a take skin off, literally. I kid you not. I mean, it's virtually glowing. You just can't see it. So yeah, strings off, screws and pickup out. So I'm going to skip that bit. I'm sure you know how to put strings on a guitar. Okay, so now I'm back and it's been done. The pickup's in. I would flip it over quickly, but the thing is I'm using a macro setting on the lens and manual focus to keep all this nicely in focus, and if I start moving it around it won't be. So right, before we start soldering we have to remember where things are going. So you might suddenly go, oh well, I'll do this wire. Well, that would be a mistake, because you're now putting a wire above the next place you need to work, which is here. So if you start at the what would be the hardest to get to point, if you imagine it's all in, so you start there, so you sort of put in one there, then this one sits somewhere around here, and then the other one's over there. So the logical process is to put the lowest or hardest to get to one in first, and then work your way out when you're resoldering in. So I'm just going to add a little solder to the ends on these, away from the instrument. And what another thing you can do is, when you've got a nice finish like this, is be away, you know, put a sheet, an old t-shirt, something like that, drop that in and around the hole for while you're working. And don't copy me. It's one of these do as I say, don't do as I do type advices. It's only because I've got a lot of experience that I will take shortcuts. Right, okay, so we're going to put the link on first, which on the Seymour Duncan is the red wire and the white wire, and they are going onto the second pin down here, Okay, so that's, yep, that's taken hold quite nicely. Let's just check for length. Yeah, okay, so we've got the most play on this side, so we'll start over here. Now the hot on the Seymour Duncan is this black one, so that goes to this point on the three-way here. Okay, that's a good solid connection, and the wire, the solder joint itself isn't cloudy. That will happen if you blow on it. You'll force it to cool too quickly and unevenly, and you won't get a decent joint, and it could eventually become what they call a dry joint. In other words, it becomes intermittent and you'll think the switch is broken. It's your soldering that's broken. Okay, so lastly, this one. Now we're soldering to a much bigger mass here. You see you've got earth, and this is the same rule when you're soldering to potentiometers as well. Get some heat onto it first, because otherwise the heat will take the easiest path, and the easiest path is the thinnest wire. So we'll get some heat to the joint first. Okay, so that's liquid, and then just blend the two in. That's a good solid joint. Yeah, nice and easy. Now it's not going to faff around making it all neat, and I'm not going to put the plate back on just yet, and the reason for that is, what if you've done it wrong? Well, you have to take your plate back off. So at this stage all I've done is just wire it on, make sure nothing's touching where it shouldn't. So let's say the earth rail on here isn't touching any part of the live feeds to the switch or anything like that, and that's good enough just for now. Later on you can come in, you know, tidy this wire up, give it a nice neat path, use cable ties, whatever you want to do. For now I'm just going to do that, plug it in, we'll do the sound test, A and B. Okay then, so we're back as we were before, exact same setup on the amp, same cable, same little bit of delay in the loop, and same identical mic positioning. It has not changed, the desk is exactly the same. So we'll A-B between Seymour Duncan Custom and the Chapman Guitars ML-1. So here's the Seymour Duncan, same three tests as before, nothing fancy. Okay, so I think it's fair to say there are definitely differences in tone there. To my ear, I would certainly say that the low end is tighter and a little more focused. I would also say it sounds a little more harmonically rich when while I'm playing, because whatever pickup you use, you'll find as a player they respond differently to you. So you may hear, oh, this guy that I really like, you know, Steve Vai or Jeff Beck, whoever it is. So you go out, you get their exact gear, you won't necessarily sound like them. Now I like the custom. I find it very vocal while I play for leads and stuff like that, and the Guitar ML does remind me of it, but just with subtle differences. So it's not one is better
one is worse. It's a case of which is better to my ear. So it's an entirely subjective thing. I mean, it is completely subjective. Now, to my ear, that's improved the guitar for not a lot of money. I mean, these things, I think when I bought that, I paid about £70 for that one pickup. I've now got a backup pickup which could go straight in if anything happened, or it could go in another guitar project or whatever. But to my ears rather, this definitely improved the guitar for me for very little money outlay. And that's what I think. So those are my thoughts. I did waffle on, I edited some out. So to keep it short and sweet, there we go.